In part of this series, there's a little bit of a common theme, but today it's what the financial gurus don't want you to know. And if you think about it, why does somebody not want you to know something? They don't want you to know something because they want an advantage. Like if you're playing a game, they don't want you to know how to play it. Or if you're a gambler at a casino, they want people that don't know how to gamble. They're willing to accept the minority that knows how to play poker or knows how to play blackjack, and they're going to win. They think, right? They're going to win sometimes. But some people walk in there, they're never going to win because they don't know how to play. And so the reason they don't want you to know the things we're going to talk about is they can't have everybody winning, right? The government can't have everybody winning. The Wall Street can't have everybody winning. And the banks can't have everybody winning. Because if they did, they'd be out of business. And what they really want is they want to be able to control you, right? So we have to break this cycle and we got to build our own game. If you're just playing Monopoly, you're still playing by somebody else's rules. But if you built a game that was teaching somebody, like if everybody listened to Glenn's podcast episode last week, Glenn built his own game. He built his own game. It was pretty easy, right? So let's just start back to how did I discover this? Some kid from Inglewood, California that didn't have money. Like, how did I discover this? Well, I discovered it by building a pretty big financial planning practice, 700 million under management. And I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was this trusted expert because I had information that I was passing on to my clients. And I realized that the whole system was built on fear and compliance. Now, not compliance on what I could do and what I could say or not, but you as the customer being compliant, right? Now, I don't know about you, but I don't really like that word. Hey, I need you to be compliant. Well, tell me what I'm being compliant to, right? Or I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but gurus don't want you to be free. Dave Ramsey does not want you to be free. He wants you to be faithful to their system that he charges for, right? And by his term insurance. So the first shift in ownership is consumer to producer. Stop being a budgeter. Start being a builder. Create value. Don't consume. And, like when somebody says the first thing you do is you do a budget. You don't do a budget to restrict. If you were doing a budget of what you're eating, you would do a budget of what food is going in your mouth, how many calories, how many grams of protein, fat, carbohydrates, etc. How much water are you drinking? That's doing an audit. An audit is different than a budget. A budget is limiting. Okay. So the first thing that the gurus don't want you to know, the lie that they tell, is just invest in the market and wait. Right. So again, the wrong way is to put 10 to 15% of your income in a 401k, IRA. I don't care if it's a Roth. I don't care if it's self-directed. I don't care. Anytime the government controls your money, you're going to lose. Just telling you. And then so you put that money in there. And then what do? You hope for an 8 to 10% rate of return, or Dave Ramsey, 12%. Hope is not a strategy. Okay. Hope is not a strategy in anything in your life. Hey, I'm taking this new pill for weight loss and I hope that I lose weight. Don't do it like that. But then what they want you to do is they want you to let that lie, that money sit there for 30 to 40 years. Now, why 30 to 40 years? Excuse me. Because they sell you a different lie. Retire at 65. The definition of retirement that Nelson taught us is to be taken out of service. And then they tell you that you're going to take out 4% of that money, that lump sum that you built, for the rest of your life and not run out of money. That's the lie. But if I were selling you that in the right way, I can make that sound pretty good. But here's the reality is just one thing. I'm just going to give you one thing that can destroy that. Sequence of return risk. Never heard that from your JP Morgan guy or your guy at the bank? When I say guy, by the way, I mean man or woman. You're not going to hear that because they don't want you to know that. But if you lose 30% in year one of retirement, your nest egg is dead. Go back and look at how many times the market has gone down 30% or 20% over the last 40 years. It happens. If you're just unlucky and you happen to retire at the wrong time, your nest egg is dead. Okay, so here's like an example. And I'm just going to use $1 million. I use like round numbers. I could use 100,000, I could use 10 million. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to use $1 million at 7% average return. Okay, I remember that word, average return. If every year it's the same, Okay. That's the difference is it's not really averaging because it's not going up and down. But at 7%, in 10 in 20 years, you'll have $2 million, right? And in if you use the rule of 72s, okay, that's average rate of return. If you use rule of 72s at 7.2%, your money would double to 10 million to 2 million in 10 years. But that's the average in the market is 20 years. I'm sorry, I said that wrong the very first time. That's 10 years difference, right? So here's an example though. If you had a million, the first year you lose 20%, then just if you had bad sequence of returns, if you had 10% every year, at like again on a straight line, it only grows to, oh, I'm sorry, you lose 20%, then you gain 10%, you get half of it back, then you average 7%, grows to 1.6 million. All right, so I think I said that very confusing. The bottom line is if you have a loss in that first year of retirement, it's almost impossible to dig out of it. You almost have to not take any money from it and let it recover before you start taking distributions. But if they told the truth, what they don't want you to really know is real after tax, after fee. For most mutual funds, it's 3 to 4%. Now, where am I getting that data? Morningstar, Dalbar, and JP Morgan. It's right there. I didn't say inflation, by the way. Inflation, and again, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole because the inflation numbers are a lie, but let's just say it was 2.5%. You basically have no return. And if you've ever had a 401k or you've had a stock market account, have you ever thought that? Have you ever thought, like, it doesn't seem like this is growing only by the money that I'm putting in there? Because that's true. You're not stupid. You see that it's not growing the way that they're saying it, and that inflation is a stealth tax. You didn't vote for it. You didn't approve it. Not that we really get to do that. So so you take like this timeline math. 30 years of savings to maybe live 15 years is what they would say back in the day, right? In that time, you lose control of your money, access to it without penalty if it's in a 401k, an opportunity to use it as leverage. But what you get is you get deferred taxes, which are going to be higher later. That's just math. Taxes have to go up, okay? Market risk that you do not control. You are gambling. All this 20, 30, 40 years, you don't get any cash flow from this, right? No liquidity, no ownership, nothing. So again, you got to go from speculation, which is Wall Street, to ownership. And you got to stop gambling on returns and build predictable cash flow and equity. Now, is it easy? No, it's something you got to learn because it's something new. It's something different. But again, I'll use Glenn. You think Glenn was an expert on mobile home parks when he had a 401k, all of his money sitting there? No, but he learned how to do it. How did he learn how to do it? He found a group of people that were doing it and he started asking them questions. When you ask questions, you get answers. And when you get answers, you what? You learn, you get educated. So the wrong way is to think like Dave Ramsey. Pay off all your debt. Your cash has no value. Avoid leverage. And when I say it has no value, what I mean is he doesn't even address lost opportunity cost. But if you cornered him, he would say, well, I'm dealing with stupid people, like teaching stupid people. And I'm not saying if you did the Dave Ramsey thing, you're stupid. He's treating you like you're stupid, okay? And if Nick's listening, Nick did the Dave Ramsey thing way back when, so he's not stupid. But Dave Ramsey wants to treat you like, well, you really don't know. How did Dave Ramsey build his wealth? His businesses, which his show is a business, by the way. His term insurance is a business. He makes a lot of money there. And real estate. Is that funny? But everybody's the same way. All right. So why do people do it like Dave Ramsey? It's this emotional reaction to money. It's not strategic thinking. It's an emotional reaction. It's fear, right? And your brain, and I'm sure this is hardwired, Heather, somewhere, right? There's this fear that I'm not going to have enough money, that I'm not going to be able to survive. It's that hierarchy of needs, right? That when we get fearful, what do? We don't do anything, or we trust other people, or we make mistakes. But if you have good debt, right? Debt used to acquire assets, then that's a wealth amplifier. And again, I've been just re-listened to The Science of Getting Rich by Walter. It's from 1910. Gives you everything in there that you need to know about. By the way, vernacular back then, rich. He means wealth and abundance, okay? he talks about a man does this, he means men and women. So it's 1910. Okay, it just was a different time. Just if you're a woman listening to that book, just ignore it. Just like The Strangest Secret. No, it's yeah. I mean, I can't change the words, and I wish I could. I mean, I changed my quote from adversity introduces a man to himself to adversity introduces a person to themselves, right? So for some reason, maybe think of these little girls at this camp, like some of those camp counselors that are like, they're little girls. They're like 14, 15 years old or something. Anyway, so federal data shows that business owners use leverage at 3 to 5 times the amount that two earners do. 3 to 5 times. So they know something that we don't. Business owners make more than W-2 earners majority of the time. There's always, the CEO of Ford's doing fine. So with infinite banking and other people's money, you leverage capital via policy loans. You're using the insurance company's money. That's other people's money. While your money sits in a tax shelter, growing guaranteed tax-free, tax deferred, but tax-free unless you do it wrong. And you invest in cash flowing assets while the capital keeps compounding. I know that sounds simple, but simplicity is elusive. I used to say Einstein said that, but I can't back that up. I should ask ChatGPT if that's true. If Einstein we can find anywhere that Einstein said that. But you're not getting rich paying off a 3% mortgage. You're just being obedient to a broke mindset. Who cares if I pay off my mortgage? My home's not an asset anyway. It's a liability. And so if I could take the equity in my home and I could turn it into cash flow with something else, doesn't that help pay for my house? And if I had no equity, but I didn't pay anything for the house, then what's the house cost me? Nothing. If you could live in a $10 million house and it cost you nothing, would you do it? I don't know. I don't live in a $10 million house, but I might want to someday. Probably not. Okay, so requires a change from scarcity to abundance. And wealthy don't play defense with their money. They go on the offense with leverage. Here's the second to last line. Hire a financial advisor. Here's the wrong way. Financial advisors position themselves as the expert that you need to hit your goals. And they're often broke salespeople in suits with the right licenses. Commission-based or assets under management or fee only, they always win, even if you don't. And you'll say, Fisher Investments, they get paid when you get paid. That's another game. It's just another game. It's just a way of dressing up a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's just the same thing. But here's the truth. Here's the data. 88% of advisors underperform the index. That's from 2023. I've heard over 90%, but let's just go with 88. Here's another data, or some more data. Fees eat up 30 to 50% of your compounding. A 1.5% fee. I mean, all in, right? 25% reduction in your 30-year accumulation. Are you willing to, how much do you like that person? How much do you like that Fidelity or JP Morgan or Sam? I'm part of JP Morgan's private equity. Okay. Would you take business advice from somebody who's never built a business? No, I hope not. Would you take health advice from a 400-pound person? I hope not. Okay. I'm not saying they're stupid, but show me that you could do it. Right? So that shift is from permission to control. Stop asking for access to your own money, like in a 401k. Own the vault. When you have IBC and you have IBC policies, you own the vault. You call them and tell them, send me my money. Okay, so the other lie, as we kind of make sure that I'm not going too long here, is if you had an X amount of dollars in a 401k, you're going to have freedom because you're going to have enough money in there to live off for the rest of your life and not run out of money. And if you max out your retirement accounts, you'll be fine. Okay, so let's just kind of do the math on that. And I'm going to, again, use the $1 million. So you can multiply it by whatever you want to. But every $1 million that you have in there, by the way, very few people have $1 million in their 401k. Very few. That's pre-tax. After tax and risk, is it $40,000 a year? I mean, how much does it take and what kind of lifestyle do you have that you can accumulate $1 million in your 401k? So here's the math. 4% withdrawal on $1 million, 40,000. But that's before taxes. I want to say 30,000 net. That's $2,500 a month. That's less than a lot of mortgages. 25. If somebody said, and it's less than rent in Southwest Florida. Okay, versus cash flow. You're going to build cash flow. So instead of maxing out the 401ks, you do something like this. And I'm going to say like a couple, instead of putting, if you could put $100,000, because remember, if I'm doing $100,000 in the IBC, it's really $40,000 base premium. And then $60,000 is going to the paid up additions, which is dollar for dollar. Okay. At least with the companies that we use the most. So you put in $100,000 in your IBC account, liquidity, and you have guaranteed growth. You use it to buy a $400,000 business that's producing 60 grand a year. You repeat that 5 times. Okay. I mean, again, it's not going to take you 30 years to repeat it 5 times, maybe 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And it's $300,000 a year in annual income. $1,000 a year times 5, 300 grand a year. Do you know how much you would have to have in your 401k net? And by the way, you have tax advantages, right? He just paid the 10% penalty. He used cost segregation to eliminate the tax. All right. If you play it safe, you retire at 65. That means you're playing small. I mean, God didn't create us to play small. You're playing defense for 40 years and you hope nothing breaks. I mean, safe is not safe when it means small. The reality is average age of a financial independence for Americans is never. Social Security is a bankrupt model. Most people die with regret, not freedom. And the model is buying businesses, real estate, cash flow stacking, control your time, control your capital, control your decisions. All right. So really quick, the top 10, I'm going to take 5 minutes on this. Okay. And I'm sorry, I don't see any questions. So here's like the top 10 myths. This has nothing to do with IBC. It's nothing to do with cash flow. Just these are myths that we're told about money. Time is money. How many times have you heard that? Time is infinitely more valuable than money. Rich people buy time with money. Broke people sell time for money their whole lives, which makes them, you got it, slaves. If you're trading hours for dollars forever, you're on a treadmill, not a track, and you are a slave. Work hard and you'll be successful. That's not true either. Okay, hard work alone doesn't make you rich. Leverage does. Other people's time, other people's money. Rich people build and buy systems. Broke people burn out because you can only work so hard for so long. Slaves worked hard, but who got rich? Owners. Same today as 300 years ago, 200 years ago, whatever. I mean, I know slavery was long, but whenever that started. The next myth, next lie, save your money. Saving alone won't make you rich. You can't make enough and they won't allow you. They limit how much you can save. Rich people multiply money. Poor people hoard it and they save it while it sits there and is being debased by our government. And inflation eats it alive. Cash in the bank is losing value every second. It's not safe. It's dying. The next myth, debt is bad. Bad debt buys liabilities. Yeah, going out and buying toys, that's bad, unless you're renting those toys to somebody. Smart debt buys assets. I buy a jet ski, rent it out. I buy a $20 million yacht, I rent it out. The rich use debt to expand. The poor are terrified of it. Rich people borrow millions to get richer. Poor people pay cash to stay broke. And number 5, make more money and your problems will all go away. Money amplifies your habits, so in your beliefs and your systems. So if you're broke at $50,000 a year, you'll be broke at $500,000 a year, just with nicer shoes and a nicer house. It's not income, it's behavior, beliefs, and your bandwidth. So that's why you have to leverage, right? Buy a house, it's your best investment. It's a liability. Your house is a liability. It's not producing any income. It costs you money. Rich people rent where they live and buy where it pays. And what I mean by that is you could own your house, but mortgage it. You're basically renting in a way. Who cares about the equity? Your timing of the equity. If your house goes up $500,000 in value, you take a HELOC and go start or buy a cash flowing asset to pay for the rest of it. Right? I mean, and it costs you money every month, your house. It's not an investment. It's an expense. All right. I started kind of with this one. You need a budget. Budget is micromanaging scarcity. Okay. That's what it is. Rich people build more income streams, not more spreadsheets. So don't cut don't cut the pie smaller, bake a bigger pie. I wasn't sure if that one was going to go over or not, but you know what I'm saying, right? It's like Yogi Berra. Hey, you want your pizza sliced in 4 slices or 8? Better make it 4. I don't think I could eat 8. It doesn't make sense. Number 8, it takes money to make money. That's not true either. It takes resourcefulness to make money, not resources. Rich people use other people's money, no matter how much money they have. They use other people's time and they use ideas. They create value. Okay. If you go buy 500 mobile home pads, you're creating value. Somebody's going to live there. Okay. The broke ask, how much does it cost? And the rich say, how do I fund this? And how do I fund it without me, without my money? Okay. Number 9, I'm wrapping up. I know we're like over normal time. Is financial freedom means retirement. That's the lie. Okay. The truth is financial freedom is about control, not just checking out at 65. I mean, like, I can't even imagine at 60 years old, some 5 more years to work. Or man, what if I was super blessed and I would retire early at 60? I'd be dead in 10 years and I wouldn't be halfway. I mean, my career's halfway. This is the way that I look at it. I could live to 120, no problem. I hope so. Only God knows that. And it doesn't matter one way or the other. I'm going to work till the day I die because I love it, right? Rich people don't retire. They reallocate their time. I'm not killing myself right now. I'm not saying I'm rich, but I'm not killing myself on working. Okay. I'm having fun. The rich think like freedom comes later. Rich people go, no, I want it now. All right. So the last lie, play it safe. Play your life safe. If the first 5 things you did failed, as long as you try the sixth time, that's all that matters, right? Playing it safe never helped anybody. I mean, playing it safe in sports, in business, in anything in your life has never created anything extraordinary, right? Ordinary people don't do extraordinary things. You have to be extraordinary. Playing it safe is the riskiest thing that you can do. Inflation, taxes, they kill that safe strategy. And they're not going away anywhere or anytime soon. And they're never going to go away. Comfort zones are expensive prisons. Comfort will kill you. I know we talked about that before, but risk is where the reward lies. You have to take risk and you have to fail at times because you'll learn. And if you're learning, then you're becoming educated. And when you become educated at something, you get better and better and better. Let's take playing the piano. Unless you're Bach or Beethoven, you don't just sit down and start playing. Right? It's painful. You're learning. You're hitting the wrong notes. No, that's not right. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Why are we so willing to do that when we're learning how to play the piano, but we're not when we're learning about financial freedom? That gives us time freedom. That gives us time to do whatever we want, when we want to do it, with whoever we want to do it. And we have impact on the things that are important to us. The kingdom, our church, our synagogue, our charity. I don't care what your beliefs are. Something is important to you. And if it's not, you're depressed. So let's get out of depression. Let's get into freedom. Thank you all for being here. Godspeed. Let's win Monday because you can't win the week unless you win Monday. Thank you all. See you next week.